Well, hello there. Jason Rates from Speak with People, spending some time today at lunch talking with Ryan Latham. We are talking about healthy leadership. And one of the things that we've been kind of diving into a lot at Speak with People is this idea of healthy or unhealthy leadership. It's all about our with or at paradigm. If you've followed Speak with People for a while, so much of our paradigm is around with or at. Do I speak with people or at them? Do I lead with people or at them? And so we can kind of go down the list and all that kind of stuff. But Ryan, welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Jason, so good to be with you and excited to be with the Speak with People crew and just honored to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we hop in talking more about healthy leadership and all of that, maybe give our listeners, our audience, our friends, our family, all that kind of stuff, a little bit more about who you are, what you do, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I do a couple different things, but primarily what I'm doing is helping people love their job. So if that's helping them in their career transition, finding jobs, if that is through coaching, through helping them kind of discover where they're at, how to move forward and accomplish great things. And then also doing leadership development. So going in, working with teams in one day kind of workshop format or ongoing cohorts over like 6-month, 8-month programs. So it's a lot of personal development, helping people love what they do.
Oh, I love that. Helping people love their jobs. Just last week on the Speak with People podcast, it was a week with a leader by the name of Jeff Calliguire. And he spoke a lot about workplace health and culture. And it's just staggering, the percentages when you really dive into how many people really feel like their employer cares for their well-being, how healthy the culture is. And so I'm curious, when you go work with teams, what kind of trainings do you do with the team?
Yeah, so it's a lot about engagement. So it's a lot about how do people help them to create environments where those that they lead are passionate. I'll work a lot with people who are leading volunteers or maybe overseeing staff members, but primarily a lot of volunteers. And so how do you take people who are not getting paid to get excited about the mission and the vision and the values and to devote themselves to it? So helping people do that. So it's also a lot about getting below the waterline, which is a little bit what we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. So do a lot with assessments. So how do you kind of unearth and uncover kind of where you're at, your unique giftings, your unique wirings? How do you know them? How do you discover that? And then how you develop that and then help them deploy it. And so first part of it is really discovering where you're at and how you're wired. So we want to use a lot of assessments or self-discovery tools to help people know that, and we're going to help them move forward.
Oh, I love that. I think I've seen maybe some of the stuff online you've done. Do you do DISC assessments? What are some of those assessments that you use? Okay.
Yeah, so a couple of the primary ones would be like DISC, the Enneagram, Working Genius, emotional intelligence, some of those assessments. Then there's also some that are just more soft skill based. So kind of figuring out what are some of your strengths or some of your gaps in soft skills and helping people kind of really self-identify that and then help them put together a plan to improve those and help supervisors have a tool to help those that they supervise get better as well, as opposed to it all being just about performance, but actually helping supervisors help those that they oversee improve not just their performance at work, but also as an individual in their communication skills, in their self-awareness skills, others awareness, all those kinds of things as well.
I love that. I love that. Do you have a personal favorite? Is there one that you're like, ooh, I love, diving into this assessment?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I always answer it this way. My favorite assessment is the assessment that you will actually use. So,
yes.
so many people take assessments and they never use them. And so I love the assessment that you will actually use. And so if in your organization, it's all about DISC, then that's my favorite one. If in your organization, you're all about the Enneagram and you're going to actually use it, then that's my favorite one. So yeah, I just think whatever assessment you're going to actually use and bring it into your culture, your actual language, your
Yep.
tribal culture language, that's the one that I want to leverage and use.
Yep. I love that. I love that. I'll never forget first time I did the disc, I'm like, wow, like how did this test know that I'm really outgoing and, you
Yeah.
know, all of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
I,
I mean,
uh,
I think just a personal. I really like the Enneagram. I think
yep.
it does a great job of kind of discovering not just what you do, but why you do it, what motivates you. I think it's pretty. There's nine numbers, right? So it's not too little, it's not too much. It's kind of in a ability to remember what it's talking about. So
Yep.
yeah.
Which number are you? I was trying to just, trying to go through and peg you, but, I'll just ask.
Yeah, I am a three, pretty solid. So yeah, I'm a three. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm almost like three with a wing three, almost. That's what my wife says. So
Yep. Yep. Pretty much every time I take it, I come out a four, with a wing
Mm,
three. And I've got some people in my life who are like, you're a three. And I think I used to be a three. I think my 20s and 30s, pure three. I think my
mm,
40s did a number on me. And so, I don't know for sure. But one of the things that I do love, maybe a couple years ago, I got a chance to tour the central hub or central office of Life Church. They have however many campuses, 30 plus some campuses all over the place. And their central hub, as you walked around the office, as you walked into every office, every cubicle, it had a little tag. Here's their Myers-Briggs, and they had a couple of them listed. So, you could tell they really put a lot of emphasis into those personality tests. So, hey, I'm walking into an ENFJ, I can come in and
mm.
be bubbly and all that. Oh, it's an IN. I better come in, you know. I
Yeah, and
love
what I
that.
love about it is that the language that they use is that you're walking into their space.
Mm,
And so, like you said, when you're walking in, it's kind of your responsibility to adapt, not morph, but to adapt into that person's kind of natural space. And so, I think it's just great to honor that. Obviously, no one's gonna be perfect, right?
yep.
But yeah, but to at least acknowledge that and to try, right? So
I
I
love
think
that.
it's great. Again, they're going to use it, right? So that's a great assessment to use if you're going to actually use it. So I love it.
Yes. I love it. Well, for those of you listening or watching this that didn't know, Speak with People produced an ebook a month ago called The Leadership Collective. And so if you go to speakwithpeople.com/lead with people, the website's on the screen, you can read all about this concept of leading with people. It's nothing new, but the kind of foundation that we laid at is for way too long, it's been normal for people to lead at people. And so lead from an unhealthy place, lead out of fear, lead out of control, lead out of manipulation, lead that way. And the problem is sometimes that leadership is pretty effective. People will listen when, the heavy handed fist comes down. So we're trying to disrupt that style of leadership, and it still exists. It exists in all different types of organizations. We're saying lead with people, lead with health, lead with authenticity, joy, empower people. And so we produced this ebook, The Leadership Collective, and we had 38 leaders. Ryan was one of them, and he graciously wrote and provided, a leadership principle. And so, Ryan, I just wanted you to, kind of take the floor and kind of unpack the leadership principle that you wrote, and love to, dive into that.
Yeah, so good. The ebook is phenomenal. It's such a good resource. It's a quick read, just 30 great insights. So I want to encourage you guys to go ahead and download that as well. But the phrase that I wrote there was a ship at sea can be steered, but a docked boat is immovable. And
Mm,
it's just we got to get out at sea. And so let me just start with this. So, Jason, I don't know about you, but let me ask you this. What were you doing at 16? Okay. At 16, I was wondering and just kind of figuring out, how do I impress the ladies? How do I have tons of fun at school? And how do I basically do the minimum amount of work to still get by in high school? But That was not the case for the Australian Jessica Watson. You see, at 16, she had already been working 3 part-time jobs to pay for her dream and to become the youngest person to sail around the world unassisted. And that unassisted is important because it means that it was a solo navigation.
Mm.
Okay, so she had to go on her own. She couldn't be helped physically. She couldn't have anybody on the boat with her. And she could have no external support with replenishing, repairs, physical guidance on the boat. And she could have no motor assistance. It had to be by
Mm.
wind or other natural sources that she could go. And this dream was birthed inside of her when she set out for her first junior sailing trip at the age of 12.
Oof.
You see, her and her sister were to go out and sail, but she got really scared and she was really nervous about it. And her mom pulled her aside, and her mom said this. She said, "You won't know what's out there unless you try."
Mm.
So she goes out and she gets all fired up about sailing, and she goes out to try and find a coach to help her to sail around the world, but nobody would believe in her dream. So she's searching around, and she finally runs into this guy named Ben, who is a rough and tough kind of sailor guy. And she tells him, she says, "I'm trying to get the experience to sail around the world, but no one will give me a chance." So Ben looked her in the eyes and he said, "So make your own chance."
Mm.
At that moment, Jessica knew that that was her coach.
Mm.
It took her a little while to convince him, but eventually he became her coach. And the two of them worked together to prepare her and prepare her boat. And in September 2009, just weeks before the 7-month journey was about to take place, they did a test run. So Jessica and her boat, Pink, headed out for the test run. And just 20 miles offshore, Pink was hit by a cargo boat and suffered massive danger and destruction to the boat that really jeopardized the trip. But with the help of her supporters and sponsors and community, they were able to restore the boat and get
Mm.
it ready to go. But Jessica was still scared. I mean, she's only 16 years old. She's scared. And so her mom pulls her aside, and her mom says this: "It's when things go wrong that your true character is revealed.
Oof.
Right now, I am looking at a strong and tenacious young woman." So on October 18, 2009, Jessica and Pink set out from the Sydney harbor. 12 days later, they passed Fiji. 33 days later, they pass Ecuador, and shortly after, they face a storm that threatens to take her off course and put her behind. But she decides to face the storm head on and get right through it. She does.
Mm.
Day 50, she passes Africa. Day 82, they pass Cape Horn. And this is the fastest section of the course with winds blowing them fast. But on day 113, Jessica hits the first day of no wind. She's stuck out in the middle of the ocean with no wind. And for 7 days, she's sitting there with no wind, no way of moving, no way of protecting herself, no way of moving forward. And this is what she wrote to herself. She says, "The truth is, living a dream is hard. I'm Jessica Watson. I'm tough and I'm struggling. Living my dream is hard, but it is worth it.
Mm.
Even the bad days. The world can be a tough place, but it's also really, really beautiful."
Mm.
That was a pivotal turning point, not just in her, but also in the trip. The wind begins to pick up and she begins to move forward. Day 186, the boat begins to suffer some leaks and water begins on board. She has to repair the boat herself. Day 197, a major life-threatening storm comes. And it would be worthy of her quitting and giving up on this trip. But Jessica and the help of her coach come up with a different plan. You see, learning from the previous storm, they decide, instead of just hunkering down and anchoring and waiting for this storm to pass like what they should do according to the textbooks, they come up with a new plan.
Mm.
They say, let's head straight into the storm and surf it. So for Jessica, for multiple days, this storm hits. On day 198, it finally comes. But for multiple days, they're treading through this storm. And on day 201 is the biggest day of the storm. The boat is leaking from multiple days of this storm pounding them. And a 70-foot wave takes Jessica and Pink way up and slams them back down the surface and pushes them down 15 feet underwater. Jessica has no communication. She has no way of doing anything other than to hold on, survive, not give up, and let Pink right size and float back up to the top, which Pink did. Mm. Jessica goes on to make her way all the way back on May 17th, 2010, which was day 210. Jessica and Pink drive right back into that harbor to see over 80,000 people there waiting to cheer them home. Listen to her speech. She says, "I'm just an ordinary girl who believed in her dream. You don't have to be anything or anyone special to achieve something like this. You just have to find your dream, believe in it, and work really hard." So, leader, I want to encourage you with this. You want to set sail next year? Well, you need a dream. You need a voice of encouragement. You need a crew. You see, even as a solo sailor, Jessica had a crew back home. And I love what John Maxwell says. He says, one is too small a number to achieve greatness. You need a coach, you need a destination, and you need the courage to set sail. So as we are here at the end of this year, preparing for the next year, where are you at today? Are you like the 12-year-old Jessica who is brand new in this journey that you've been thinking about? Or maybe you're looking for somebody to believe in this dream that you've had, but no one will believe in it. Or maybe you're like 14-year-old Jessica and you're working 3 side hustles to try and prepare and make this dream a reality. Or maybe you've already done a test run and you got banged up, you got hit by a cargo ship, and you're beat up. Maybe you're at day 197 and there's no wind. And you've been just stranded there with no momentum, no wind in your sails. Or maybe it's day 201 and you feel like you're 15 feet underwater drowning. Wherever you're at today, I want you to listen to what Jessica had written on the side of her boat. She said, "Dare to dream."
Oh.
So, leader, I want to encourage you today as we prepare for 2024, dare to dream. You see, a ship at sea can be steered, but a docked boat is immovable. So just like Jessica, you have to set sail and listen to what Jessica's mom told her, because you won't know what's out there unless you try. So I want to encourage everyone listening today, wherever you're at, let's set sail. Let's set sail and let's go see what's out there.
It's so good. Oh, Ryan, thank you. Boy, that's so good. I mean, I you and I both, we've talked and we've been in that situation where we're like, you know what? I don't want to set sail. I don't have the energy. I don't have the, but we need this message. We need this reminder. We need, these kind of stories, because that's not our best life, especially as leaders. We've got stuff to achieve and, navigate and get people to follow along. And I love that. Why do you think, leaders kind of get stuck in a rut and, the dreaming, quotient goes lower and lower and lower and lower and lower?
Well, I think for a lot of us, we've been beat up, right? I mean, like we've we've done the test run. We maybe test some things up, and we get beat up. We get damaged a little bit, or there's a lot of people times where we have this dream and no one believes in it,
Mm.
and we don't have that fortitude to keep fighting and keep going and believing in it. We can see it in our mind's eye so much that we are willing to make it our a reality. And so I just think a lot of us, it's just tiring, to go out there at sea, unassisted. You're by yourself. You're out there, and it can feel lonely. But I think we can learn from Jessica. Even though she was physically out there alone, she wasn't. She had a crew at home. She had a coach that was cheering her on, and her mom. Oh my man, her mom, those words of encouragement just fueled her. And so I
Yep.
think it's important for us as leaders to know that we can't go out on our own.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if you're a solopreneur, you,
Yep.
you got to have a team around you, a crew
Yep.
around you, to believe in you and speak into you. And so I think a lot of us, too many of us, are doing this on our own. And so that gas tank you said is dwindling, and there's not people filling it back up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that, I mean, it's so the temptation, like you said, so many of us have, experienced hurt. We've taken hits. We've been betrayed. There's all the lists, all the lists, all the lists. And so we turn more and more and more and more inward. We lose sight of the fact that we need people. We don't have a coach. We don't have a mentor. We don't have those people speaking truth into our life. And then all of a sudden it's just us, and like Vanessa Van Edwards calls them the gremlins inside of our head, just reminding us, you don't need people. Don't attempt anything new. And then, the toxicity fills us, and we're at a place where we're speaking at people, leading at people. Everybody becomes that at now. Everybody's, a distance. And so, finding a coach, finding the team, finding the people in your life who are going to fill up your encouragement tank, help you dream big, help you get back up. Oh, so incredibly important. Just absolutely love that. Love that. Let me ask you, just from your perspective, because you travel all over the place, you talk with leaders. Do you see the needle, turning into the positive when it comes to, leading with people, winning over leading at? Do you see the positive of, that kind of moving in the different organizations you work with?
Yeah, I do. I think that a lot of people have realized that health is important,
Mm.
and that it's not just about the bottom line. That in fact, it's kind of like, to use the analogy of race car driving, like you got to slow down before you can speed up,
Right.
right? And I think for so long, a lot of organizations were just all gas, no brakes.
Mm.
In fact, a lot of organizations were on running on NOS. It's like we don't even really have this performance ability, but we're just going to manufacture it through some chemical processes, right?
Mm.
And so it's like they're performing even outside of what they even had themselves
Yep.
for so long. And it's like, man, everyone can look around and it's like, man, we all know that the side panels are shaking, and the rear view mirror is shaking, and things are falling off, but we got to keep going because we got to keep this up, or else we're going to lose, right? And so I think 2020, I think 21 even, began to expose, hey, we've got some things that we need to take care of. And a lot of the stigmas of counseling, or a spiritual coach, or soul care, a lot of these things have been given a chance to be a reality, and to say, man, those are actually valuable.
Yep.
And I'm even seeing a lot of organizations even putting financial resources
Mm.
into that by providing counseling sessions, or providing space for people
Yep.
to come to their supervisors and say, hey, this is where I'm at. Can I have a half a day, or can I have a day to have an intentional moment? I'm seeing the rise of even sabbaticals, in the
Yeah.
ministry, in the marketplace, that some type of a defined sabbatical is even becoming more common. As before, it was just kind of like a luxury. I'm seeing it now become even more of in the conversation, and not just for the VP or the lead, but
Right.
even being pushed down into the organization that those are become more available. Now, here's what I'm also seeing. I'm also seeing that those in the past have been abused. And
Mm.
so what I'm seeing now is more organizations requiring that person who's going to be taking that time off to submit for approval what they're going to be doing,
Yep.
how they're going to use it, because so many organizations shut them down because people would come back and they'd be more tired than when they left because they took that month or whatever it was to write a book or to write an album or to write and they came back exhausted. And it's like, well, hold on. If it's truly a time of rest, then let's map that out. So I
Absolutely.
think that there is a rise in that becoming normative, which I'm really grateful for. And I know that there's a lot of people that look at that and say, "Oh man, that's just being lazy," or that's
Right.
manipulative. And right, there are those people that take advantage of those opportunities. There are, but I think
Yep.
the vast majority of people are not. And
Yeah.
again, if that is a fear, then have people intentionally map out for approval what they are going to do in that time. And so, yeah, I think it's great. I'm seeing organizations even bring on to their staff, either part time or full time, some of these kind of care roles,
Yep.
or just people have an opportunity to share openly about what's going on. And so, yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Well, there's a giant difference too between organizations who care for training and development and organizations who don't. The organizations who don't, I typically find their people are much more run down. They don't really fully understand the mission vision, of the full organization, but then even specifically, what's the vision for my particular role? I was staying in a hotel in, where was it? Point Clear, Alabama, just way at the bottom of Alabama. Beautiful, right on the Gulf there. It's called the Grand Hotel. And I was there to speak to some financial advisors who were doing a sales meeting. But, from the get go, you walked on this campus. It was giant. Buildings everywhere. They had all different sorts of, stuff. It was a well oiled machine. And every single staff member you ran into, smile, how can I help you? And so finally by the second day, I pulled, an employee aside and I'm like, okay, just, you got to let me know. How much training do you guys do? And they're like, we have to do 4 hours of online training every month. And then we do, a once a month all staff. And then our direct report checks in with us weekly. And they started going through, the direct report questions. And I was like, okay, this is an
Mm,
organization, even though this is a groundskeeper, even though this is a, banquet booking person, this is a bartender, this is the general manager, whatever it was, people are being cared for. They understand what their role is. There's no questions. And the one thing that kept coming up as I talked to employees, because I was just fascinated, they were asked for their opinion. And I was like,
mm,
whoo, okay, that's the difference, because I think sometimes in organizations that are unhealthy, where the leadership is leading at people, opinions and questions, they may say, hey, we welcome them, but a lot of defenses go up when you start asking questions, when you start presenting, you know, possibly better ways, more efficient ways to do something. And so,
yeah, absolutely.
it's just amazing. It's amazing. Just even that little bit of effort to train your people, to train, you know, to help them with their jobs. Whew, things go through the roof.
Yeah, we live in a gig economy right now, right, where people aren't tied to one location or one organization for their whole life. And so, if you want to step out of that and really get people committed and engaged, I think caring for them is a high priority. It's going to make you stand out because somebody can always find more money somewhere else, right?
Yep.
Or they're going to invent it themselves. And so, I think you're going to stand out when you begin to care for those that work for you or work with you.
I love it. I love it. Ryan, This was so incredibly helpful. Thanks for adding your voice to the Lead with People. Thanks for all you do to pour into people. So I can put it in the links and everything. What's the best website to send people to when they go to check out what you do?
Yeah, you can go to renewedleadership.org and you can check out all kinds of stuff there and great resources. We're kind of redeveloping it, so we're going to be providing lots more blogs coming up in the new year and great resources for you there.
Love it. Love it. Ryan, thank you so much and appreciate your time. And for you, if you made it to the very end of this video, don't forget, go to speakwithpeople.com/leadwithpeople. Send that to your employer. Send that to your HR director. There are resources on there. There's a podcast series with 16 different leaders, all talking about healthy leadership. And then there is the Leadership Collective. You can download the Leadership Collective, and you are able to get that and pass it on. And so thank you again for being a part of this midday discussion on leadership, and we'll connect with you in the future.